the foundation and the direction of the Ghana Football Association could be shaken as the Court of Arbitration for Sport is set to rule today on a landmark case involving Wilfred Osei-Kweku Palmer and the Ghana Football Association after 10 months litigation over his disqualification from the FA presidency. Osei-Kweku, who is the president of the Ghanaian second-tier Tema Youth, dragged the now defunct Normalization Committee to the Global Tribunal over his unfair and biased disqualification from the Ghana FA presidential race back in October 2019. Let's go live now and speak to George Addo Jr. of Joy Sports for more on this. George, just a little background for people who have not been following this. What is the case of Palmer?
Well, he's not excited and he was not happy because the point with which he was disqualified, he had problems with it. He was disqualified from the 2019 Ghana Football Association elections on the grounds of integrity, and he's been worried about this and filed up to the Court of Arbitration for Sport so that he could get a few reliefs on this. We know that on the 15th of July, he was supposed to get a bit of analysis from the Court of Arbitration for Sports, get a ruling, but that was postponed to the 4th of August today. And as I speak to you, I'm very, very sure tension fills the air because both camps are not too sure what's coming through. We were expecting to hear from the Court of Arbitration for Sport as early as 9 a.m. We have still not had any information yet. We are still waiting on as the rules are. I'm very sure the lawyers will get hold of the decision before CAS will decide to publish that on their website. So we're just waiting and keeping close tabs on all that's happening. But there are a couple of possible scenarios that we're looking at and we've been talking about. For those of you who are following this coverage, remember that we are giving you heavy updates on our Twitter handle at JoySportsGH, on Instagram at JoySportsGH as well, on myjoyonline.com we have updates for you, and of course on JoyNews and all multimedia platforms. We are definitely going to be bringing you everything that you need in understanding all of this. So, you know, in the lead up to the 2019 Ghana Football Association elections, after the investigative piece by Anas Oremayao Anas did halt Ghana football, Wilfred Osei-Kweku Palmer, the owner of Tema Youth, was disqualified on the grounds of integrity by the elections committee. He was not excited about that and decided to press the case. He wasn't part of the election, which ended up with Keto Kweku, now the Ghana Football Association president, winning. His case has been running for long, but he's been saying that the grounds on which he was disqualified did not make sense. Because we are waiting for the verdict, I don't want to go too much into the nitty-gritties, but I can tell you that there were 3 pointers, 4 pointers that he did indicate that the election committee were unfair to him. That is what the Court of Arbitration for Sport has had a look at, and very soon will be telling us the verdict. It's interesting because
but George, just before you proceed, George, if you can hear me, he already made the case, and this is public information. As far as the accusations of he not paying some monies to the FA is concerned, he made that case in his submission to the arbitration. And so, if you just want to brief us on that, he has denied the accusation of not being a man of integrity. He says the case being made by the FA is not exactly so. What did he tell the arbitration? If you can just fill us in on that.
Oh, let's make the point. Now, it was all about a transfer of a player, and in the rules of the association, you are supposed to pay 10% to the Ghana Football Association. But you see, it's a long thing. Let me just make it very short so that you can understand. Now, the ITC for the player, on which you can use to make any case, was not issued by the Ghana Football Association according to Wilfred Osei-Kweku Palmer, and therefore there was no point in allowing the Ghana Football Association to come to him and say he had not even paid. So that is something that he's contesting. Another thing he's contesting is, yes, the likes of Georgia Free and Keto Kweku had issues that were involving their clubs. But in dealing with them, they separated the clubs from the personality. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Keto Kweku had an issue when he was with Dreams FC, but Keto Kweku was not the same as Dreams FC so far as the elections committee was concerned. So Wilfred Osei-Kweku Palmer is the owner of Tema Youth, and he says I am not the same as Tema Youth. If Tema Youth has not paid monies to the Ghana Football Association, even if that accusation is true, why should Wilfred Osei Kweku Palmer, the personality, suffer as a result? That's another case that the Court of Arbitration for Sport is looking through. So it's going to be interesting how the decision is going to come through. But clearly, Wilfred Osei Kweku Palmer believes that he was disqualified on unfair grounds. He feels that the other candidates went through a process, and he should have easily gone through the process because the same reasons that was given for the other candidates to go through should have just worked for him, and he should have been part of it. If he was going to be affected because of Tema Youth issues, then equally, Georgia Free and Ketu Kweku should have also be affected because of their club issues. So that is where the argument has gone, and the Court of Arbitration for Sport is going to be giving us a verdict on that.
And you were talking about three scenarios. Yes, go ahead on that. Yeah, go ahead. You were telling us about what could potentially happen.
Because, the Court of Arbitration for Sport can say or can decide to grant the reliefs that Wilfred Osei Kweku Palmer has put in there. One of those is that particular ruling that said he was disqualified based on those grounds should be nullified, and that he as a person must be cleared. It's interesting when we talk about Ghana football, you want to talk about the clubs and the personality, but it's important for Wilfred Osei Kweku Palmer to clear his name and make sure that he has no, in quotes, integrity questions on his thing. So he's first of all seeking that the points or that case against him that he was disqualified will be nullified. That's the first thing that he's looking at. The next thing is that if that case is going to be nullified and disqualified, then it means that there is a big story and big case for a re-election. And that's up to the Court of Arbitration for Sport to decide if we're going to have a re-election. That means that the few months that Ketu Kweku has been in office, all of that will be called null and valid, and then we go through it. There's also an opportunity, or there's also an angle where the Court of Arbitration Sport may well grant all that Wilfred Osei Palmer wants, but may not call for a re-election. So we are yet to find out how it goes. And I must tell you that everybody's really looking forward to this, and it's an interesting one. Absolutely tense, because especially the fact that we didn't receive the verdict when we expected to, it means that there's a lot of work in that, surely.
And I'm just wondering, is there precedence to this anywhere else in the world that we can refer to as far as this issue is concerned? Because of its potential damage it could have on football, especially here in Ghana.
Well, I'm just wondering, because around the world there have been stories where there has been a re-election because the first election had issues. So if there has to be a re-election, there's no problems at all. Once the Court of Arbitration for Sport feels that there were problems with the first election and something must happen, they will definitely go ahead and say that let's have a re-election. It's not going to be new at all. It was rather incumbent on the election committee to have ensured that they had blocked all the areas and made sure that there were no loopholes for anyone to exploit. So once the Court of Arbitration for Sport understands that there's a problem and comes out to say that there has to be a re-election, it will just go through. There are no problems at all. All they'll have to do is reorganize, have an election, and then we'll go through that. No problems with that at all. I'm sure both parties, and especially from Ketu Kweku, the president of the Ghana Football Association, he has indicated over and over again about this case that he's ready for any decision from the Court of Arbitration for Sport. And once they come through that and they have to re-elect, then we'll go straight and have the re-election. Everybody gets back into it and gets to do the campaigning, and then all that comes true. So that's not a problem at all. And we have seen it happen before. It can happen again to Ghana football, and we should be ready to just face whatever comes right in there.
George, thank you very much. And we're counting on Joy Sports to bring us up to speed on this landmark decision by the Court of Arbitration for Sports on this very issue right here in Ghana. It's very crucial for football here in Ghana.